Don't be a slave to your emotions. Stoicism. Have you noticed how easily your emotions can take control of your day without you even realizing it? It's almost as if you're strapped into a roller coaster you never asked to ride, gripping tightly with every twist and turn, feeling each dip as if it's your last. And the hardest part? You feel powerless. But what if I told you that the real trap isn't in what you feel, but in how you respond? Today, on Stoic in Your Life, we're going to explore how the Stoics, those ancient yet timeless philosophers, discovered the key to freeing yourself from the grip of emotions. Emotions will always arise, but with the right mindset, you can decide how they shape your life. So, what will it be? Will you master your emotions or remain their captive? I'll share 9 strategies that will help you steer your emotional ship like a seasoned captain in even the stormiest seas. Make sure you stick around for the final one. It might just change everything. And if you find value in this journey, subscribe and hit the bell to stay connected. Let's get started. 1. They didn't tell you, don't ask. Imagine for a moment that your emotions are like a roller coaster you didn't sign up to ride. The twists and turns come without warning, and you're strapped in, holding on for dear life, powerless against the dips and rises, the loops and the free falls. It's thrilling at first, but soon becomes exhausting. And here's the real issue. You feel like you're just a passenger on this chaotic ride, unable to steer, to slow down, or to get off. But what if I told you it doesn't have to be this way? You don't have to be at the mercy of every wave of anger, every pull of sadness, or every spike of anxiety. Stoic philosophy offers us a way to break free from the grip of our emotions, to step off the roller coaster and take control of our inner world. As Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." These words hold a simple but profound truth. While we can't always change what happens around us, we do have the power to decide how we respond. This shift in mindset can transform how we live, helping us find peace even amidst life's most challenging moments. To begin this journey, think of your emotional life like a cluttered kitchen. When left untended, the mess builds up, overwhelming you and making it difficult to function. But with some intentional effort, you can organize and clean, transforming that kitchen into a place of order and calm, where everything is within reach and under control. The choice to organize or leave it in chaos is yours alone. So how do you begin tidying up this emotional kitchen? Start with self-observation. This isn't about judging yourself or suppressing how you feel. It's about becoming aware. Like a skilled detective, examine your emotions and reactions, noticing the subtle details. Ask yourself questions like, what triggered this reaction? Is this truly as significant as it feels? Record your answers. When you start observing your reactions without judgment, you uncover patterns and emotional triggers that might otherwise go unnoticed. Seneca, another Stoic master, reminds us, "Most powerful is he who has himself in his own power." By simply being aware of your emotional patterns, you're already reclaiming control over your life. This might sound like a small step, but it's actually revolutionary. The more you observe, the less likely you are to be swept away by your emotions. Once you've developed the habit of self-observation, try cognitive restructuring, a powerful technique that involves actively reshaping your thought patterns. For instance, when faced with a stressful situation, instead of letting your mind spiral into worst-case scenarios, ask yourself, what's the best that could happen? Or, how else could I view this? It's like switching channels in your mind, tuning out the pessimistic narrative and turning to a balanced or even optimistic one. Epictetus, the slave-turned-philosopher, emphasized, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Imagine facing a criticism at work. Instead of immediately feeling hurt or defensive, try reframing it as constructive feedback. This practice is powerful because it helps you see beyond the initial sting, allowing you to choose growth over resentment. Over time, this shift in perspective becomes natural, reducing the grip of negative emotions and giving you a greater sense of mental calm and control. Additionally, never underestimate the value of seeking wise counsel. It's tempting to go through life's challenges alone, to keep everything bottled up inside. But sometimes a trusted friend or mentor can offer insights you might miss. Choose someone who genuinely understands you, someone who has a balanced perspective and won't just tell you what you want to hear. This advice isn't about relying on others to fix your emotions. Rather, it's about gaining a fresh perspective that grounds you in reality. Imagine a friend who can remind you of your past successes when you're feeling insecure, helping you remember your strengths when all you see are your flaws. This gentle reminder from someone you trust can be the difference between sinking into self-doubt and finding the courage to keep moving forward. Seneca advised, "One of the most beautiful qualities of true friendship is to understand and to be understood." True friends anchor us, helping us see through the fog of our emotions and find clarity. To truly maintain balance, make gratitude a daily practice. At first glance, gratitude might seem like a soft skill, but don't underestimate its impact. Each night, reflect on a few things you're genuinely thankful for. This simple act shifts your focus from what's lacking to what's present and abundant in your life. In a world that constantly pushes us to want more, this small moment of reflection creates a powerful shift in perspective, training your mind to appreciate what you already have. Cicero said, "Gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues but the parent of all others." Practicing gratitude strengthens our resilience by reminding us of life's positives, even on difficult days. Over time, this habit becomes a stabilizing force, reducing the intensity of negative emotions and helping you approach challenges with a calmer, more composed mindset. Ultimately, each of these practices, self-observation, reframing your thoughts, leaning on wise counsel, and cultivating gratitude, contributes to building emotional resilience, helping you reclaim control over your life. You don't have to be at the mercy of every passing emotion. You can be the captain of your own inner world. Carl Jung once noted, "The mind that is tranquil turns chaos into peace." The next time you feel emotions rising uncontrollably, remember, you have the ability to steer. With practice, you'll find that you're no longer a passenger on an unpredictable ride, but the pilot of your own journey. 2. You weren't invited? Don't go. Ever found yourself in a situation where you weren't invited to an event, a gathering, a meeting, or a casual celebration? Perhaps you find out later, almost by accident, and the realization stings a little. You think, "Why wasn't I included?" It's natural to feel left out and to question if it's something about you, but pause for a moment and ask yourself, is this feeling of exclusion really about the event itself? Or is it a reaction from your ego, that part of you that craves acceptance and validation? The ancient Stoics, those wise thinkers from Greece, would say that this is a perfect opportunity to examine your reaction, to notice what's happening within you without letting it define you. To the Stoics, true happiness isn't found in others' approval or in external events. It's found in how we handle our emotions and responses. Social invitations are like cars at a traffic light. When the light turns red, you're stuck waiting. You could choose to get frustrated, honk, and stress about the delay, or you could simply enjoy a podcast, take a breath, and make good use of that time. It's the same with being left out of an event. You could let it get to you, or you could use it as a chance to focus on something meaningful. The choice is yours, and it's a reminder that while we can't control everything, we always have control over our reactions. This perspective is at the heart of Stoic philosophy. We don't have power over others' actions, but we do have power over our own minds. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Remember, not being invited isn't an attack on your worth. It's a neutral event. The Stoics teach us that life doesn't always go as planned, and part of emotional freedom is learning to be okay with that. So what can you do when feelings of exclusion arise? First, try refocusing your attention on something positive. When you notice the pang of not being invited, redirect your thoughts to an activity or passion that brings you joy. This might be a hobby you've neglected, a book you've been meaning to read, or even a walk in nature. The goal is to remind yourself that fulfillment doesn't come from being everywhere or involved in everything. It comes from valuing the experiences you choose to cultivate. This shift is powerful because it keeps you grounded in what truly matters to you, rather than getting swept up in social validations that ultimately don't define your worth. Another strategy to ease these emotions is practicing gratitude. Instead of dwelling on what you missed out on, focus on the abundance that's already present in your life. Start a simple habit. Each day, jot down a few things you're thankful for. These can be as simple as a good meal, the support of a friend, or even your health. Gratitude shifts your mind away from what's lacking and refocuses it on what's already here, anchoring you in a positive mindset that builds resilience against feelings of exclusion. Cicero, another Stoic thinker, emphasized this when he said, "Gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all others." By cultivating gratitude, you strengthen your capacity for contentment, regardless of your social circumstances. Finally, try developing a practice the Stoics called positive indifference. This isn't about ignoring people or becoming detached from them. It's about learning to accept outcomes that are out of your control with calmness. Not every event is open to you, and that's okay. This isn't a reflection of your value, but simply a reminder that life is diverse and sometimes things don't align in your favor. When you practice positive indifference, you're less likely to internalize feelings of rejection or to spiral into negativity. Think of it as building a mental buffer that lets you bounce back faster from social disappointments. Seneca put it well, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Often we magnify our emotions unnecessarily, so by practicing this calm detachment, you'll find that fewer things weigh you down. When you find yourself left off a guest list or excluded from a gathering, remember that your response is what truly counts. The teachings of Stoicism offer a pathway to approach life with resilience and balance, helping us avoid the traps of emotional overreaction. Instead of letting feelings of rejection drag you down, take control and choose a response that reflects your true strength. Don't let your sense of worth become entangled with the invitations you receive or the opinions of others. Your value isn't determined by someone's guest list. It's shaped by how you handle life's inevitable ups and downs. Remember, you're not less valuable because you weren't invited. You're wiser because you know how to handle it. Embracing this wisdom is what turns you from a slave to your emotions into a master of your inner peace. 3. If you don't value it, don't insist. Have you ever felt like you're just not valued by someone, maybe at work, in a friendship, or even in a relationship? You give, you show up, you try to be your best self, but it seems to go unnoticed, like a precious gem left to gather dust on a shelf. You may even wonder why you're doing it, pouring so much of your time, energy, and heart into someone or something that doesn't seem to reciprocate. This can be a tough realization, and it's a feeling most of us know all too well, that sting of being undervalued, feeling like an extra in a movie where we thought we'd play the lead. But here's where Stoic wisdom offers us a powerful, freeing perspective, one that can help us move from being a slave to our emotions to truly owning our inner peace and self-worth. You see, the Stoics knew that our sense of value shouldn't be placed in someone else's hands, but should be grounded in how we see and value ourselves. Think about this for a moment. How many times have you found yourself giving more than you receive, striving to prove your worth to someone who just doesn't see it? It's like trying to be a plant reaching for sunlight in a shaded corner, hoping the sun will finally shine there just for you. But would you stay there, stretching yourself thinner and thinner? Or would you seek out a brighter spot where you can truly grow? The answer seems clear when we put it that way, doesn't it? Stoicism teaches us not to keep investing in situations or people that don't nourish us. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Instead of allowing feelings of being undervalued to take over, we can choose to shift our focus, to recognize that the validation we're seeking from others is often just a reflection of what we need to build within ourselves. Think about modern life. How often do we get caught up in social media, seeking likes and comments as a measure of our worth? We sometimes let these fleeting validations determine our mood and self-esteem, letting strangers' opinions define us. But isn't it a bit absurd? Just as with real-life interactions, letting others' recognition, or lack thereof, dictate our self-worth is like surrendering our inner peace to forces beyond our control. The Stoics remind us to anchor our sense of value within, to stand firm and grounded like a tree with deep roots, unshaken by passing storms. Marcus Aurelius wisely put it, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This means we can free ourselves from the emotional roller coaster of seeking approval, and instead focus on cultivating a steady, inner strength that doesn't waver. So, what do you do when you're not valued? You stop pouring energy into situations where it isn't returned. This isn't about rejecting others or becoming detached, but about respecting yourself enough to walk away from places that don't appreciate your presence. Instead, invest in environments and relationships that allow you to grow, to shine, and to be seen. When we stop chasing the approval of others, we gain freedom. Freedom to be who we are without constantly wondering if it's enough for someone else. Imagine being the director of your own life, rather than an extra waiting for a moment of recognition. By reclaiming this power, you stop being enslaved to the emotional highs and lows of validation, and you start living with a steady sense of self-respect. In this process, practicing self-valuation becomes essential. The Stoics encourage us to cultivate an unwavering inner light, one that doesn't flicker based on the presence or absence of others' praise. This doesn't mean isolating yourself from others, but recognizing that your sense of worth is too important to rely on anyone else. As Epictetus reminds us, no man is free who is not master of himself. So if you find yourself in situations where you're not valued, remember that it's not your duty to try harder or to make someone see your worth. Instead, let go of the need to be acknowledged in places that don't reflect your true value. Seek people in places where your light is welcomed and celebrated. This simple shift in perspective, away from seeking validation and toward self-acceptance, is transformative. Don't spend your life waiting for others to recognize your worth. Life is too precious to waste in places that don't feed your spirit, or in relationships that don't nurture your growth. Your value isn't defined by others' recognition, but by the strength of character you carry, by how you honor yourself. Marcus Aurelius's words echo this truth. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Choose thoughts that lift you up, rather than weigh you down. So let this be your reminder the next time you feel undervalued or overlooked. You are not less because someone fails to see your worth. Instead, you are wiser because you choose to surround yourself with people and environments that appreciate your true value. By doing so, you stop being a slave to your emotions and become the master of your own peace, standing firm in the unwavering light you cultivate within. 4. If they didn't respect you, don't accept it. Have you ever felt like respect for your dignity has been treated as something dispensable, like it's on clearance and everyone around you seems fine with taking it for granted? You give respect, you expect a fair return, yet you end up feeling like the joke of the week, picking up the pieces of your self-esteem and wondering if you'll ever stop being treated like someone else's doormat. If this resonates, it's time to talk about a crucial Stoic principle that can transform how you view these situations. When someone doesn't respect you, it's not a call to bend over backward or accept blame. It's a wake-up call to stop being a slave to your emotions and to take a stand for your self-worth. Think of your respect as a bank account, one you've filled with experiences, hard-earned lessons, and personal values. When someone disrespects you, it's as if they're making withdrawals without permission. If you keep this account open to repeated disrespect, you're allowing them to take from something you've spent your life building. So rather than internalizing these moments and blaming yourself, the Stoics encourage us to see that our peace shouldn't hinge on the actions of others but on our response. Every time we allow someone's disrespect to invade our emotional peace, it's like letting them into our home, walking all over our floors with muddy shoes. In the same way that you'd protect your physical space, Stoicism teaches us to guard our mental and emotional boundaries. This doesn't mean shutting out the world or rejecting people altogether, but setting clear limits for what you'll accept. This is where Stoic wisdom becomes practical. Epictetus reminds us, the key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best. In other words, don't stay where you're diminished or undervalued. Let's explore some Stoic-inspired approaches to uphold your dignity and maintain your peace of mind when faced with disrespect. First, recognize your intrinsic worth. If you're continually questioning your value because of others' treatment, it's time to remind yourself that your worth isn't negotiable. Imagine yourself as a piece of art. Its value doesn't diminish because one person fails to appreciate it. If they can't see your worth, that's on them, not on you. For instance, if someone in a work environment constantly overlooks your contributions, remind yourself that their oversight doesn't determine the quality of your work. Like a piece of art, you don't lose value because someone chooses not to look closely. Second, establish firm boundaries. Boundaries are the protective walls of your mental fortress, without which anyone can waltz in and disturb your inner peace. Setting boundaries is like telling a visitor they can't walk through your house with muddy boots. It's about keeping your mental space clean and respected. For instance, a friend or family member habitually dismisses your opinions. Calmly but firmly, let them know you expect mutual respect in conversations, reinforcing that you're unwilling to engage unless they approach you with consideration. Boundaries protect not just our dignity but also our mental well-being, making us less susceptible to emotional turmoil triggered by others' disrespect. Third, communicate assertively. When someone disrespects you, responding assertively rather than aggressively lets you communicate your needs clearly while maintaining your dignity. Think of assertiveness as placing a "no disrespect allowed" sign in your interactions. If a coworker or even a partner consistently interrupts you, calmly say, "I'd like to finish my thought," signaling that you expect respect without escalating tension. Clear, respectful communication reinforces your self-respect and reminds others that you won't tolerate being undervalued. Finally, reclaim your emotional power. Every time we accept disrespect without response, we're giving away a piece of our emotional stability. Reclaiming this power means choosing actions that reinforce your self-respect and align with your values. Engage in self-care. Surround yourself with people who genuinely respect you and pursue interests that fulfill you. This is like steering your ship back on course after being tossed by a storm. You're choosing the direction that serves you best. If you find yourself in situations where you're consistently disrespected, maybe at work or in a friendship, consider that it might be time to realign or even walk away. As the Stoic Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." Rather than craving the respect of those who undervalue you, turn your attention to those who recognize and honor your worth. In the end, accepting disrespect and allowing yourself to be a slave to negative emotions only weakens your self-respect and damages your peace of mind. Just as the Stoics teach us, focus on controlling what you can, your actions and responses, and let go of what's beyond your control, other people's behaviors. By following these principles, you'll find yourself building a foundation of inner peace that no external opinion can shake. Remember, you don't need to be in places where your value is constantly overlooked. Instead, look for environments that respect and uplift you. As Oscar Wilde wisely put it, self-respect is not something we beg for, it's something we command. If respect isn't offered willingly, simply remove yourself from that environment. You are the captain of your own ship, and only you can choose which harbors you want to visit. If you've made it this far, you're already on the path to mastering your emotions. Drop a comment saying, "I am in control," to show your commitment to inner peace and strength. Stay with us. The journey to true resilience has only just begun. 5. If they didn't support you, don't be discouraged. Sometimes life seems to throw challenges our way with such consistency that you wonder if you're the star of some cosmic comedy. Think about those times when you've put in your all, taking risks, working late, following a passion, only to be met with blank stares or lukewarm responses. Instead of encouragement, you get shrugs, or worse, dismissive comments like, "Well, what did you expect?" It's disheartening, no question about it. But here's a Stoic reminder worth holding on to. Just because you don't receive the support you hoped for doesn't mean you should lose faith in your path. The absence of cheerleaders isn't a sign to give up. Instead, it might just mean you're meant to be the hero of your own journey, without needing an entire cast of supporters to keep you going. Remember those moments when you took a bold step or pursued a big dream? That initial spark, that raw excitement, was powerful enough to get you moving, even without applause or approval. And when you looked around, perhaps you realized that your supporters were few, or maybe none, and most people were just watching from the sidelines, comfortable in their own routines. It can be disappointing, yes, but that doesn't have to weaken your resolve. The Stoics would urge us to see external support as something optional, even irrelevant, rather than necessary for our success. Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic emperor, wisely observed, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." So instead of focusing on the lack of support, consider how you can become your own greatest ally. Why should validation from others determine your motivation? Seeking approval is often like chasing after the latest holiday sale. It's appealing in the moment, but fades quickly. So how can you avoid falling into the emotional trap of disappointment? Imagine that your emotions are like a thermostat, not a thermometer. A thermometer reacts to outside temperatures, rising and falling with every shift. But a thermostat sets its own temperature and maintains it no matter what's happening outside. In the same way, rather than reacting to others' responses, aim to set and maintain your own sense of worth, staying steady regardless of the external praise or criticism. This doesn't mean shutting off your feelings, but instead deciding that they won't dictate your path or your purpose. A practical approach to maintaining this self-control is through mindfulness. Practicing mindfulness helps you observe your emotions without letting them control you. It doesn't mean becoming an unfeeling machine, but rather learning to act based on what truly matters instead of emotional highs or lows. When emotions start to build up, try a moment of reflection and a deep breath to anchor yourself. Another way to keep yourself steady is to set small, daily goals that give you a sense of progress and satisfaction. These little wins keep you focused on your path, reinforcing that your journey isn't dependent on external applause, but on your own commitment. The next time you feel let down because no one is backing you up, remember that the real support you need is already within you. The Stoics taught us to focus on what we can control, our reactions and attitude toward life, rather than looking to others for validation. Epictetus said it simply, "No man is free who is not master of himself." The reality is, when you rely too heavily on others for encouragement, you risk letting them control your emotional weather. But by grounding yourself in your own purpose, you build resilience that no amount of external approval can shake. Don't allow the lack of external support to deter you from your dreams or deter your ambition. Instead, validate your own efforts and press forward with unshakable determination. Being the hero of your own story requires courage, not applause. As the Stoic saying goes, don't wait for others to cheer for your success. The real applause comes from within. So, as you move forward, take each step knowing that you're capable and worthy, no matter how much or little support you receive. Your path is yours alone to walk, and when you learn to find strength from within, you become unstoppable in your pursuit of what truly matters to you. 6. If you were not loved, do not diminish yourself. Let's talk about something many of us have felt at some point, that sinking feeling of loving or deeply admiring someone who doesn't see us the same way. It's that story of unrequited love that can make you feel not like a tragic hero in a Shakespearean play, but more like you're stuck in an endless cycle of self-pity, questioning your worth, and asking, why am I not enough? But here's something that Stoicism would ask you to consider. Your worth is not defined by whether or not someone returns your love. It's a powerful shift in perspective, one that frees you from being a slave to emotions tied to others' perceptions. First, let's look at the reality of not being loved back. Yes, it hurts, but it's far from the end of the world, even if it feels that way. Think of it this way. If you were a sweet, loyal dog waiting for a loving family to bring you home and were overlooked, would that mean you're any less lovable? Absolutely not. Just as a dog's worth isn't defined by a potential adopter's decision, your value doesn't diminish because someone doesn't reciprocate your feelings. This is what the Stoics would tell you. Your greatness, your potential, and your worth aren't altered by someone else's lack of interest. A fundamental Stoic principle here is to stop being a slave to what you can't control. Love, especially the way it plays out in another person's heart, is beyond your influence. The Stoic philosophers, masters of emotional resilience, teach us that life is far too short to cling to outcomes beyond our reach. As Epictetus wisely stated, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. Instead of allowing unreturned feelings to pull you into a whirlpool of self-doubt, try redirecting that energy toward appreciating your own unique qualities. Make a list of what you value about yourself, and hold on to it. Remind yourself that you are not defined by whether someone else sees these things or not. Embracing self-worth without needing outside validation is not just a healthy practice. It's the key to emotional freedom. You're the one who determines your value, not others. One helpful practice here is emotional distance. Think of your emotions like ocean tides. They rise, they fall, but you don't have to be swept away with every wave. When feelings of rejection or loneliness start to take over, picture yourself as a grounded observer on the shore, watching the waves but staying on firm ground. It's normal to feel the ebb and flow of emotions, but you're not obligated to drown in them. The Stoics would say, don't get attached to any emotion as if it defines you. Instead, observe it, learn from it, and let it pass. Rather than getting carried away by a wave of sadness or disappointment, maintain your footing, recognizing that these feelings are temporary, just as waves are. Another strategy is practicing daily self-affirmation. Stand in front of the mirror each day, look yourself in the eye, and affirm what's great about you. Yes, it might feel awkward at first, but it's worth it. Tell yourself aloud, I am worthy, I am capable, I am enough. The more you do this, the more your mind accepts this truth, building a solid foundation of self-worth that doesn't depend on others' opinions. And remember, self-worth is not about waiting for others to validate you. It's about confidently appreciating yourself whether someone else does or not. A wise man once said, if you look outside yourself for fulfillment, you'll never be truly free. True freedom comes from learning to value yourself without needing anyone else's validation. As you find yourself in the painful grip of unrequited love or facing the sting of rejection, take a deep breath and remember, if they didn't love you back, it doesn't make you any less valuable. Your worth doesn't lie in someone else's hands. It lies within your view of yourself and how you handle your emotions. Don't let rejection make you a slave to your feelings. Instead, be the master of your own happiness, the one who decides your worth. Let your value shine regardless of who recognizes it, because as Nelson Mandela so wisely said, your worth is not measured by the love you receive, but by the love you give to yourself. Ultimately, this journey is about cultivating a powerful inner light that shines with or without acknowledgement from others. By embracing this mindset, you stop being a slave to fleeting emotions and become a beacon of self-assurance and peace anchored in a love that comes from within. 7. If they didn't pay attention to you, don't beg. Let's take a moment to talk about one of the most frustrating and disheartening experiences we can face. Putting yourself out there, sharing a thought, an idea, a personal story, only to realize the person on the other end isn't really paying attention. Maybe you've worked hard on a project and are presenting it in a meeting, only to find that half the people in the room are lost in their screens or looking out the window. Or perhaps it's in your personal life where you've opened up about something important, and the other person seems more interested in scrolling through their phone. It's almost like you're talking into a void, and that void can make you feel invisible, unappreciated, and maybe even doubt your own value. But here's a question worth asking yourself. Is it worth pleading for someone's attention? Is their focus, their nod of approval, really what determines the value of what you have to say? This is where Stoic wisdom comes in, a perspective that teaches us not to let our emotions enslave us, especially in situations where others' actions don't live up to our expectations. When someone doesn't pay attention to you, it can feel personal, almost like an insult. But the Stoics would tell us that this feeling of rejection is only real if we choose to accept it as such. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." These words remind us that the true power we have lies not in demanding others' approval, but in choosing our response. If someone doesn't pay attention, it's not necessarily a reflection of your worth. Their distraction, disinterest, or even lack of courtesy doesn't take anything away from the value of what you're saying or doing. It's simply a reflection of their focus, or lack thereof. When you're presenting an idea you're passionate about in a meeting, and you look around the room to find that several people seem disconnected, the typical reaction is to feel discouraged, or even to overcompensate, trying to prove your worth to hold their attention. But what if you could approach it differently? What if you could choose to value your ideas regardless of how well they're received? Epictetus, the great Stoic philosopher, put it plainly. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Instead of focusing on who is or isn't listening, remind yourself of why you're there in the first place. If the idea is valuable to you, if it has purpose, then it's worth expressing no matter the reaction of the audience. By keeping a strong internal sense of value, you maintain control over your self-worth, protecting it from the influence of inattentive others. There's also great wisdom in examining why we often feel the need to chase others' approval in the first place. When you find yourself tempted to beg for someone's attention, take a step back and ask yourself, am I looking for affirmation, or am I sharing something that genuinely matters to me? The Stoics encouraged us to focus on our own convictions rather than the reactions of others. This perspective isn't about becoming indifferent or emotionally detached, but recognizing that your value is intrinsic and doesn't fluctuate based on the approval of others. For instance, if you're pursuing a passion, whether it's a creative project, a new career path, or even a personal development journey, don't let the presence or absence of applause affect your motivation. Your reasons for doing it, the meaning it brings to you, are enough. Another powerful tactic in staying grounded is shifting the energy you might spend on trying to win others over into refining and growing your skills. Instead of focusing on gaining others' attention, imagine directing that energy into something that brings you fulfillment and progress. When we commit to growth, we become resilient, no longer relying on others' attention to feel valid. Think about it. The most successful people often reach a point where they no longer seek out applause. Instead, they work quietly, focused on their goals, and over time, the results speak for themselves. This is what the Stoics meant by cultivating independence. Seneca once remarked, "It is the power of the mind to be unconquerable. When you focus on growth over praise, you free yourself from the emotional roller coaster of others' opinions and build a foundation that's strong and steady." Finally, refusing to beg for attention and learning to stand confidently in your worth is a powerful step toward emotional freedom. The Stoics would call this being the master of your own fate, a reminder that the strength of your character and the value of your work isn't determined by who notices or applauds you. Your worth, your dignity, is rooted in how you see yourself and the meaning you give to your actions. If others fail to notice, it doesn't make you invisible. It simply means you're strong enough to keep going without needing validation. As Mario Alonso Puig so wisely said, Don't worry about indifferent glances. Sometimes what is unseen is what truly shines. Remember, you don't have to chase validation when you're already grounded in your purpose. By embracing this mindset, you become resilient, letting your light shine from within, regardless of who recognizes it. This quiet, inner confidence is the essence of not being a slave to your emotions, the key to living a life of genuine purpose and peace. 8. If you weren't chosen, don't wait. Let's dive into something nearly all of us have faced. That aching, unsettling feeling of waiting to be chosen. It could be at work, in relationships, or even among friends. Times when you find yourself hoping that someone will see your worth, validate your efforts, and offer you the recognition you deserve. You feel like you're standing on the sidelines, watching others live their lives, while you sit there, waiting. And that wait can feel endless, like you're in life's waiting room, hoping for someone to walk in and call your name. But what if I told you that waiting to be chosen is a trap? That if you're not chosen, the answer isn't to sit and hope, but to pick yourself up and keep moving? One of the most powerful truths in freeing yourself from being a slave to your emotions is realizing that your worth isn't determined by anyone else's decision. If you're not chosen, don't wait around. Your time, your energy, and your talents are too valuable to be wasted in a cycle of dependence and doubt. Let's break down why, and more importantly, how, you can leave that waiting room behind and start taking charge of your own story. Think of it like this. Imagine you're an actor in Hollywood, auditioning for the lead role in a major movie. You've put in all the work, prepared your lines, and you're excited to make your mark. But despite your effort, the director chooses someone else. So what do you do now? Do you sit in the waiting room hoping they'll come back, change their mind, and say, "Actually, we need you to save the entire film"? Of course not. You don't waste your potential waiting around for a single opportunity, because there are countless other films, other directors, and other roles that could be an even better fit for you. But this is where so many of us get stuck. We wait for that single source of validation to acknowledge our worth, as if one person or situation holds the key to our success. This is a cycle that limits our potential and drains our confidence. You don't have to be stuck here. Life won't pause just because one person didn't choose you, and you shouldn't pause either. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. In other words, it's not about waiting for someone to give you a role. It's about creating a life that aligns with your own values and goals. Our emotions, unfortunately, can make us feel compelled to hold on, to cling to hopes that maybe, just maybe, we'll get that approval we long for. But ask yourself this: is the wait worth your peace of mind? Why wait for someone to see your worth when you could be using that time and energy to explore opportunities that don't depend on others' opinions? Imagine trying to find shade under a cactus in the middle of a blazing desert. No matter how long you sit there, hoping it will somehow shelter you, you'll end up disappointed, exposed, and drained. The Stoics taught us that when we accept what's beyond our control and focus on what's within it, we find peace. If someone didn't choose you, that's their decision, not yours. What lies within your control is how you move forward. Instead of investing your energy in a closed door, look around and see what new paths are open to you. So rather than waiting, channel your energy toward something that truly matters to you. Waiting around is like leaving your car idling indefinitely. It wastes time, resources, and ultimately leaves you stagnant. Why not redirect that energy into an endeavor that fulfills you? Make a list of your strengths and accomplishments, not to inflate your ego, but to remind yourself of what you bring to the table. If someone didn't see your value, that doesn't mean it isn't there. It simply means they weren't able to recognize it. Remember, your talents, your passions, and your dedication are all assets waiting to be invested in something meaningful. Seneca once said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." Instead of craving recognition from others, find strength in acknowledging your own worth, knowing that your value isn't up for negotiation. Point 1. Another powerful approach to break free from this emotional trap is to let go of expectations. Picture your hopes and dreams as balloons you release into the sky. Some may soar to great heights, others may drift away, but holding on tightly only weighs you down. By letting go of the need for specific outcomes, you open yourself to endless possibilities. It's freeing, knowing you're not bound by the opinions or decisions of others. When you stop waiting to be chosen, you start making choices for yourself. You're not just a supporting character in someone else's narrative, you're the lead in your own story. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means allowing yourself to move forward without holding on to things that aren't meant for you. The Stoic wisdom here is simple. Don't ask for things to happen as you wish, but wish for them to happen as they do, and your life will go smoothly, as Epictetus advised. Accepting the natural flow of life's events allows you to grow stronger and more resilient. The next time you find yourself waiting to be noticed, waiting to be chosen, or waiting for someone to see your worth, take a deep breath and ask yourself, what would I do if I stopped waiting? The answer can be empowering, because it means you're taking your life into your own hands. Instead of lingering in life's waiting room, explore your own opportunities. Start creating the life you want, not the life you're hoping someone will give you. This approach isn't about rejecting people or becoming indifferent. It's about recognizing that you have the power to live fully and purposefully, whether someone notices or not. This is the heart of Stoic wisdom. You alone control your actions, your decisions, and ultimately, your happiness. Don't allow emotions tied to waiting to keep you from moving forward. Take each step with confidence, knowing you're creating a life on your terms. So, if you haven't been chosen, don't stand around hoping for someone to notice. Recognize your own value, step forward, and invest in the opportunities and people who appreciate what you bring. The saying goes, don't wait for others to recognize your worth. You must see it first. And that's exactly what Stoicism teaches. You're not defined by whether or not someone chooses you, but by the choices you make for yourself. Embrace the power to choose your own direction, and you'll find that a life led by self-worth and purpose is far richer than one spent in waiting. 9. If someone doesn't want to be in your life, let them go. One of the most painful yet liberating truths in life. If someone doesn't want to be in your life, it's better to let them go. We often get caught up in the drama of wanting someone to stay, of trying to change their mind, or of questioning our worth when they walk away. It's easy to see life like a movie, where the protagonist is meant to fight for love and friendships, and we're taught that the happy ending only comes after a long struggle and emotional speeches that bring people back together. But life isn't a scripted drama, and real strength doesn't lie in chasing someone who doesn't want to stay. When you find yourself desperately clinging to someone who's already chosen to leave, you're giving up your own power, your peace, and your potential for happiness. When you're in an antique shop, browsing through shelves of unique, beautiful pieces, you come across something that catches your eye, a vase or sculpture that you find captivating. But as you examine it closely, you notice it's broken. Now you could buy it and invest time, effort, and money into trying to repair it. But is it really worth it? Wouldn't it be better to move on and find something whole, something that truly brings you joy without requiring endless work? This is exactly how it is with people who don't want to be in our lives. Trying to hold on to them is like holding on to a broken vase. You can pour all your energy into it, but it may never be what you want it to be. Just as it would make more sense to look for something undamaged, it's wiser to let go of people who don't value you and seek out relationships that enhance your life. The Stoics would advise us to focus on what we can control. You cannot control another person's desire to stay or leave. You can only control how you choose to respond to it. The more energy you spend trying to keep someone who doesn't want to be there, the more you drain yourself emotionally. Seneca said, "It is the power of the mind to be unconquerable." When you stop trying to convince someone to stay, you reclaim your strength. You are no longer a slave to your emotions or to the whims of someone else's choices. Letting go isn't a sign of weakness or giving up. It's a sign of self-respect, of valuing yourself enough to walk away from someone who doesn't see your worth. Think of relationships as a coffee filter. Some beans just aren't right for brewing the coffee you want. No matter how many times you try, the coffee tastes bitter and unfulfilling. In relationships, if someone isn't right for you, all the effort in the world won't make it satisfying. Clinging to someone who isn't meant to be there is like forcing yourself to drink a bitter cup of coffee and expecting it to taste sweet. It's pointless and only leaves you with disappointment. This is what the Stoics understood so well. Real peace isn't found in forcing things to work or making people stay. It's found in letting go of what doesn't serve you. So next time you face the pain of someone not wanting to be in your life, remember, don't become a collector of emotional clutter. Don't hold on to people who aren't willing to stay, invest, or reciprocate in the relationship. Life is far too short to carry people who only weigh you down. Like the Stoics believed, inner peace comes not from trying to control external chaos. Thank you for listening. If you found this message meaningful, take a moment to reflect and maybe share your experiences in the comments. Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications to keep up with our journey into Stoic wisdom and practical advice. And if you're ready to explore more on self-mastery and emotional freedom, check out our recommended videos. They're there to support you as you continue to build a life grounded in inner peace and self-worth. Your time and support mean the world to us, and we look forward to seeing you in our next adventure. Remember, life is about growth, not waiting rooms.